Priest Kwatamani, supreme soothsayer, soul seer, spiritual healer and revealer, chief elder of the Quatman First Genesis tribe, the oldest, longest sustained, raw and living, plant fuel consuming, family community order known, over half a century and still going strong in the tropical rainforest.
Someone asked a question, and it seems this is question and answer time.
So you say you need something to step to. Better watch what you say and who you say it to. 'Cause the high priest Kwatamani will give you something to step to.
Yeah, this piece here, well, this a love song. Syncopated and orchestrated for you to step on. For the big, bad, and bold who think they're full grown. Put loose and fancy free with a mind of their own. For the bad mama jammers who stone cold to the bone, doing the wrong thing right and the right thing wrong.
The question was, how have I been able to manage these sons?
What can I say? I hope they live to see a brighter day.
And just as I was ready to respond, the rain came. And when it rained, it poured. And this, for some reason, reminded I of the rain of terror that had poured upon our sacred ancestral family community order, ripping and tearing it apart, ripped and tore our sacred ancestral garden culture family community order to the core. And this we can no longer ignore. But then now I recovered, hearing what was said. He's wondering, how have I managed to maintain a family community order for this long under the circumstances of what is going on with the masculine state of consciousness? I'll be very blunt. This is the time of recovery. And in order for us to recover, there's no ands, ifs, and buts about it. We need the presence of sacred ancestral masculinity. Hear me well. We don't just need the presence of males. That will do us no good, because the male in and of himself, who have been divided, conquered, separated, and ruled, will stand opposition to divine social, economic, family, community order. Every time, all the time, anytime, day and night, he will stand opposed. He's the one who will seek to woo, screw, tattoo.
Feel for my brother. The street life used to be on. Straight up hustling till the break of dawn. Taught me how to do wrong right. Everything inside. But somehow things started to change. Try to get us straight up out of the game. You couldn't see what I saw. The empire was starting to fall. And everything that I said never seemed to get into your head.
He's the one who will worship materialism, ridiculous materialism. In fact, there's been so much divided, conquered, separated vibration that even among those males who have gathered with a holistic living purpose, there seems to always be some kind of way or mean that they can find to use to divide, conquer, and be separated. One wants to be the dominant one. One wants to be the controlling one. Each one want to see if they can run their own way of gaining that post on top of the heat, where they're looked at as the one who got the favor. If we cannot establish the principles, morals, and values of sacred ancestral masculinity, there is nothing but a downward spiral. So, to answer the question, and I say, hey, we really don't have to get into no worry about it. You see, this is a soul journey that each of us is on. And what we have to do is to respect those sacred ancestral elders who have worked and walked a tough line, a tightrope to get us where we are today.
Yeah, this piece here, well, this a love song. syncopating, orchestrated for you to step on. For the big, bad, and bold who think they're full grown, put loose and fancy free with a mind of their own. For the bad mama jammers who stone cold to the bone, doing the wrong thing right and the right thing wrong. Take a few minutes, groove with this groove, and let this smooth love song take you to school where truth lyrics are the golden rule.
As I said, this is recovery time. And I am so very well aware of that warlord vibration within and among the males. What the I and I have come to see, sense, and realize is that when a young male, he's in that young vibration, his ego and his macho and all the things that he have been master programmed to focus on becomes the light of his day, which brings him into a lower and lesser sight to see the pathway he needs to take. And he envision and imagine great wonders. And he forget that, oh, wait a minute, this is not the first trip down that road. The best thing that you can do is see how you can communicate and align with someone who have somehow mastered going down that road and somehow avoided the pathway that leads to that downward spiral of oblivious nothingness. When I look around, I see those young males who have actually gotten so cocky and arrogant with their fathers, because most don't have now. They have big brothers. Some don't have that. Some don't have little brothers. Some only have the mothers who are struggling to try to be both as best she can under the circumstances of being brokenhearted like I don't know what. Because within her feminine essence, she actually felt that she had a relationship that would be able to uphold, maintain, and support her opening her legs up to that male.
I praise Kwatamani. I praise Kwatamani. The ancestral mother spirit is requesting that you give us more divine spirit inside the step to.
Oh, sing it, baby.
The bottom line is, he has not been given the principles, morals, and values of respecting that femininity as a mother to be. The only thing he's thinking about is getting that nut for the moment by any means deemed necessary. And that's the most ignorant, down low state and condition that a male can actually put himself in or find himself headed toward. And he don't even realize it.
Trying to relieve the mental stress and strain and the misery, aches, and pains from the baggage they tote. Some would sniff and start and smoke some dope. Some would preach and teach and fool some folk. Some would seek and search a hole to stroke. Some would beat their meat. Some would seek out dead and devitalize something to eat. Hell, oh yeah, this stale and pale game stone cold to the bone, and the suntan children won't leave this thing alone. Just can't seem to figure out where it went wrong and why this stale and pale game has been going on for so long.
Oftentimes, when I and I have communications, like one I had just the other day, this male he's affluent. He has all the things that a young male would want to have or achieve, yet he's faced with the condition of that overblown ego that wants to challenge the masculinity of the father for whatever reason. They say that it is because what has happened on the planet is that Sethian nature, that is satanic nature of opposition to divine order, has become so dominating, so controlled, and so ruled under the guise and disguise of an almighty and omnipotent God. And the almighty and omnipotent God has power and rule over all things. And this male, he has come to think, since this almighty and omnipotent he, that he should be ready to take the throne. So he's deified, he's self-deified. And in that process, he loses his connection with the sacred ancestral spirit, the whole soul nature of true, sacred, ancestral masculinity.
If I didn't say it before, I now say to you, get natural, raw, and rare, and take a breath of fresh air, and let this supreme truth talk to you. There's some deep-seated program that you must let go, and we don't have any time to waste anymore. Without a hoop, a holler, and a lot of to-do, use this supreme truth to step 2.
Unless we recover from all the toxic vibrations that has been bestowed upon he, and those generations and generations and generations of that being bestowed upon those who came before, unless we begin to detox, purge, and heal, hey, that bad mama jamma is going to take all of those connected with it out.
Moving through the streets, always on the run. Pistol Pete, Karen, Heat, and every other daughter or son has become a master con. Like a predatory leash, sucking you like a sponge. Stealing your life energy, leaving you with none. And you better move fast and quick, better stay on the run, cause every bad mama jamma out there got a gun. Kicking ass and taking name is a gangbanger's fun. And the way this story is wrote, hardly anybody can cope. So everybody seeking, searching out a ray of hope.
So obviously, the safest thing, the best thing, the most wholesome thing for any male to do is break his allegiance to that self-deified, individualistic nature that he thinks is the key to fueling his macho masculinity, because he wants to be seen as a man. And he forgets that that is not sacred ancestral manhood. That is the manhood of a lower and lesser downward spiral into oblivious nothingness, individualistic focus on what I want, when I want, how I want, what I want. And that do not connect with any vibration that's going to be wholesome and healthy with a sacred ancestral feminist sheep. It do not connect. Because by nature, the sacred ancestral feminist sheep is communal. Your mama was effeminate. She birthed you in her womb. And we say this time and time again. That means that her first connection with new life is a communal act. And we have to respect that. Now the male, he's born out of her womb. So in our natural and innate state of order, it's automatic that we too would be communal, because we are tied to she from her womb forward. We have a divine, natural, innate duty, obligation, responsibility to uphold, maintain, to provide divine guidance and protection to she who carried a womb of life. Then that divine union of masculine and feminine energy comes into a union of supreme creation. But somehow there has been a real serious interruption and interference with our sacred ancestral spirit presence as divine children of the sun, emerging from the sacred garden culture as green earth solar conscious being. It has been disrupted and interrupted and disconnected.
Who betrayed the garden culture, Abel or Cain? Who made the burnt offering in their God's name? Who is the God of the folks who used Brother Cain as a scapegoat? Who are the disciples and the followers who would take the supreme truth and have it rewrote, establishing a pale male war god culture who would rape, murder, enslave, and spook folks? Who would orchestrate truth to deceive anyone who would come to believe the 666 alliance about Adam and Eve? And the 666 God said, in the beginning was the Word. And there be a declaration of war against the keepers of the word. And in truth and reality, the keepers of the words were the keeper, the most supreme truth, far beyond the syllables of the word. And the keepers of supreme truth, far beyond the word, was raided, invaded, murdered, raped, and enslaved. And the word was stolen, and the truth was reversed, and the word become deception, and deception become the word. And this is exactly what Adam and Eve heard. And a ventriloquist-like voice was projected, and Eve heard the word. And after being tricked and deceived, Adam would hear the other voice that pointed the finger at Eve. And one would be seen as evil, always ready to follow disorder, leading man into temptation, profiled as the devil's daughter. and one will be cursed to give birth in toil and suffering pains upon the earth. You see, here before the thing was man-made, as Eve was born out of Adam's rib cage. Oh yes, let us not forget, they were led out of the sacred garden culture and into a culture of war and crime, and they would learn to hunt and herd and slaughter and kill. Flesh and blood is how they would die. What kind of God is this that would declare this opposite energy culture as divine, choosing of the slaughter and the burnt flesh of death, and instead of the fruits of the trees of life, and declaring this burnt offering as his first choice way to die?
The masculine he has been led down a pathway that connects he to a mono-natured male. That means feeling separated, isolated, and actually being at war with the feminine she, feeling he wants to conquer her. And he feel his power, and he done conquered her. And that makes him feel like a man. In actuality, he's been reduced to everything less than. And until we get that vibration of knowing that, hey, you got an obligation to mother, to grandmother, to great-grandmother, great-great-great-grand. We have an obligation to all of those who walked the line of femininity, who did whatever they could do by every means necessary that they knew of. And yeah, they made a lot of errors because they were broken from the masculine presence. They did not have that sacred ancestral caring masculine he. By strategy, he was divided from the family communal order. That's the division that we're still facing. Can't see it. However, it is never too late to begin a detox, purging, and healing process, and it's definitely never too late if you have not even begun. And this is what a lot of the young males do. They don't have no connection with any nature of masculinity that will actually make a true statement of sacred ancestral father, spirit, consciousness. Oh, they got males who are MIA, missing in action, who are there, but they're so busy chasing their own fantasy, delusion, illusion, and dream that they do not have time unless it's within the plot and the scheme of them getting another edge on their fantasized movement. Yes, there are males there. A few, but they're there. But they have no idea on how to be a father. Why? So many did not even have a father for whatever the reason, whether it was mama being hardcore or being too tough to deal with because she didn't have a father. Whatever it be, we are in a boxed up, mixed up situation that we have to recover from. And this is recovery time. Somebody asked, wow, your sons are so fortunate. They become great basketball players. They're master farmers. They have a community. Their sisters are so beautiful and they're aligned with them and they're ready to do everything necessary as a sisterhood to help them gain a relationship with feminines who will be of the same kind of consciousness or who can actually be taught to reason with the kind of consciousness that will cause them to make that lifestyle transition. They're so fortunate. What dare I say is, please listen. Anyone, be it he or she, is only fortunate if he or she can see the gift, the holistic living gift that they have been given. And so many can't because they're too busy looking out the window pane at the grass that looks greener on the other side, and they're actually lusting in their mind and dreaming to get out, break it, bust the door down, and go over, only to find out this ain't even concrete. It's not even painted. It's a cesspool, a sinkhole. And usually that's said as the last wailing cry as one sink deeper and deeper into the nothingness.
Just can't seem to figure out where it went wrong and why this stale and pale game has been going on. for so long. No, I ain't gonna end this love song here in the midst of this doo-doo, leaving you empty, ignorant, sad, and blue. I'm gonna take a moment and let the priest sing to you, and then I'm gonna come back and give you something to step to.
Mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters, game playing within an insane game, ducking and dodging each other, headed for self-destruction in the fast lane. And with absolutely nothing divine to step to, deadly destruction has a point-blank aim. And our sacred spiritual essence is what this pale game will play.
Being in a domestic violent relationship, or being another torn male who done dropped his seeds as a donation to that nature that opposed his sacred ancestral essence as one of the two parts of the wholeness of divine socioeconomic family community order. And these are the facts that seems to be so difficult to deal with by the he who's on the other side of that window pane. He ain't quite broke out yet. He ain't bust the door down yet, but he looking and he got these dreams in the idea of the sensation of whoever is having the microphone at that time, or whoever is the stage that's been put before him to distract him, to keep him completely out of sync, out of focus, out of line with resurrecting sacred ancestral green earth solar conscious masculinity. And we're in recovery. And so, if we are in recovery, no one can have any comprehension of what a sacred ancestral masculine he, a father, a grandfather, goes through. And at this particular point in time, we don't have the extra time to waste trying to figure out, well, what is he going through? The relevancy is to keep on pushing that love supreme. Do not stop for nothing. Sometimes in that journey, there are those who will not continue that journey. And to be real about that within one's own soul consciousness, to be real about that, and to know that you keep on going for the collective wholeness. And always remember, the sacred ancestral masculine he has a divine, natural, and innate duty, obligation, and responsibility to do what? To uphold, maintain, and to safeguard the women and the children. To give divine guidance and protection to the women and the children. And I've seen so many mothers go through emotional breakdown. That he said, please, that's my only son, or that's my baby, or whatever the cry, the wailing, moaning cry be. The young man disregarded and ignored karma. Oh, you don't do that. You don't do that. And actually some come up with the guts to say, they don't believe in all that stuff. Don't believe. Mad. What's all that? Why are you always talking about the unseen? You can't see it? And that's when you begin to realize, okay, this one is on his way to be a goner. Because what is it that you actually have a connection with? If you don't have connection with sacred ancestral principles, morals, and values that uphold, maintain, and continue the forward movement of the essence of life and supreme love, that means that you have connected with nothingness. And oblivious nothingness happens to be outside of divine order. And there is a keeper of oblivious nothingness.
Yes, there is an almighty God
of oblivious nothingness who seek and search to leech off of the life energy of others. So you have those sons who actually have been given so much, yet they feel that everything should be given to them. They feel Somebody owe it to them, and they don't realize that, hey, you owe more than you can imagine to those ancestors who stood firm against all odds, those who were burnt, tortured, raped, those who were stomped, beat, drugged, those who were imprisoned all their life for nothingness, those who were shackled, chained, those who were left crippled and maimed because they stood for sacred ancestral truth. And they gave their life to uphold and maintain a pathway that you could walk. And it's not something that you can walk and feel privileged of. This is what I tell my sons all the time. That, hey, just because you have been born, bred, and spoon-fed within a divine social, economic, family, community order that's older than any of your mothers, just because of that, it do not mean that you are privileged beyond the natural and innate privilege of having parents who care for you and who have worked to secure you, and therefore you have a divine, natural, and innate duty, obligation, responsibility, being connected with that divine, social, economic, family, community order to do everything within your mental, physical, and spiritual power to uphold, maintain, and elevate the movement of that divine, social, economic, family, community order for the generation next. Remember, life is for the living, for giving to the generation next. And if you are not about that, you are not about holistic living truth. And therefore, I tell them very clearly, you're headed down the pathway of self-destruction. Now, sometimes they feel like, hey, you got to live your life. You know, there are some things that I want to do. I saw one time walking around with some fancy something on their arm that they had went and got because they feel so all empowered because they have a few extra dollars and cents in their pocket. And instead of having the sense, the reason to know, wait a minute, do we want to turn the grandchildren into a sacrifice? Those who want to worship things that are beyond the social, economic, family, community, divinity. So when we take time and reason, when I hear people giving accolades and glory to the movement of my sons, I'm talking about those who are born of the DNA of I direct and those who have made it with the DNA of the feminine inside of this sacred ancestral order. It becomes very clear. There's only one bond of relationship that those males should have. And that is a bond, a divine union of oneness, upholding and maintaining the principles, morals, and values of providing divine guidance and protection to the wholeness, not the self-asserted individualism, the wholeness of divine, social, economic, family, community order, providing divine guidance and protection to all the women and the children so that we can expand our mental, physical, and spiritual blessings so that we can regather, because it is time for recovery. So when we say recovery, what we're talking about is there's been a lot of damage done. And we don't want to be a part of the damaging energies to continue that same nature that has ripped, stripped, and torn apart the most blessed expression of the most supreme seen and unseen essence of masculine and feminine energy. We have been given the gift of life through the divine union of oneness as the most supreme seen and unseen essence of masculine and feminine energy. Put forward all the energies of earth, wind, rain, and sun necessary to allow us to come forward in his and her image as he and she. And we cannot take that for granted and spit in the face of the most supreme seen and unseen essence of our existence. We have to come to recognize that we're a part and parcel of a collective wholeness, a collective oneness. And once we step outside of collective wholeness, collective oneness, what our Kemetic priesthood was stating when they told the story of Asar, Aset, Nebuchadnezzar, and Set, what was being said is, Set, the child of regret, ripped and tore the side of his mother's womb. He had no respect for femininity, no respect for anything. He broke the womb of divine order. Listen well, whoever you be. When we begin to break those ties, separate into an opposition nature that diametrically oppose divine order, we then become it, and it becomes we. And therefore, that satanic nature becomes the presence that actually possess your mind. You become obsessed with that toxic nature of disorder, that toxic nature of conflict, confusion, and chaos. And as a result, you actually think that conflict, confusion, and chaos is a righteous stand. And you're ready to down anybody, father, anybody, mother, anybody, as an expression of what you feel is your glorious attainment of masculinity. And don't realize that you've just made a statement of how weak and depleted you are as a masculine he. And there is nothing worse than a masculine he who's actually feeling that he's empowered to dominate, control, and rule over divine order. And we're in recovery. We got work to do like I don't know what. I feel so much compassion for those mothers. But more importantly, Deanna, I feel compassion for the offsprings born off of she, who will have a greater possibility of becoming the next breed of mothers and fathers. And if we do not take an intense effort to commence a detox, purging, and healing from that assimilated, integrated, and adopted nature, a nature that has shown clearly to be opposed to our existence as divine children of the sun, the sacred guardian codes from which we come as green earth solar conscious being. All that has been assimilated, integrated, and adopted by she will be transmitted into that next generation. And if that continues, it's very clear that that downward spiral will implode. We must commence an immediate detox, purging, healing process. We must establish selective vibrations to put family units together that will be free of that opposing nature of energy, which uses its influence to keep that mother and that father into a passive state of existence. And when we say passive, what we're saying is he and she, the mothers and the fathers of the future generation, will be so focused on their personal agenda, their ways and means to seek fortune and fame or a fantasy thereof, that they will totally and absolutely ignore the next generation. This has been done before, and we must break the codes of that toxic parallel. And since we are in recovery, those sacred few of the few of the few, those are the ones that I'm talking to. Because it is only through your sacred ancestral masculine energy stepping up to the plate and aligning with a vibration that has the ability, proven over time, to create a different kind of energy upon this earth, a different kind of vibration of thought and reasoning and action, a different kind of lifestyle, a different kind of consciousness that is an absolute necessity for recovery. Please be clear. When it comes to the divine social, economic, family, community order of the Kwatamani First Genesis tribe, when it comes to the divine union of masculine and feminine energy and those who are devoted to the sacred ancestral order of divine social, economic, family, community. If it's not about this, we are not about that. And it's simple. The strong, devoted, the focused ones will rise. The weak, depleted, down low ones will fall to the wayside.
Now take this truth and step on.
Before you say you need something, that's step two. Better watch what you say and who you say it to. 'Cause the high priest Kwatamani will give you something to step to.